Welcome and thank you for joining me. This is part of my ongoing nuclear war simulation series. Today, we're looking at what if China did an all-out counter-value strike against the United States. And it's really a test to see with their current nuclear stockpile, how many casualties could they potentially cause if they're going for maximum casualties. And so, like all simulations, there's certain assumptions that are made here. One of which in this is that the U.S. ballistic missile defense systems fail to cause any interceptions. And again, this is maximum casualties, worst case scenario. So the other assumptions is that their subs are able to get close enough to the U.S. that their sub-launch ballistic missiles will be in range. And the other things is that they'd be able to move their mobile launchers, at least their intercontinental ballistic missile range mobile launchers, to the most favorable position to be able to strike the vast majority of the continental United States, including Hawaii and Alaska. So, Hawaii and Alaska is not really a concern. It's really the southern portion and southeastern portion of the United States that's more of a concern. So with those assumptions out of the way, let's first start and take a look at the nuclear order of battle for China. And so I use a couple different resources to kind of come up with this. I hate when this does this. All right, don't do that. I don't want you to do that. Okay, should be able to see this here pretty clear. Let me zoom in a little, go down a little. So this is updated for 2024. I usually get my information from a couple different resources. This one in particular is the Federation of Atomic Scientists. And this is the current estimates based on the U.S. Department of Defense. And so it's updated for 2024. They have been increasing some of their warhead counts. Keep in mind the often quoted number is now they're up to 500 warheads. Just bearing in mind that there's a certain portion of those that are intermediate range or medium range that are not in range of the United States. Now, they would be in range of U.S. bases in the Pacific. So they would be in range of, Japan, South Korea and stuff, which would create a certain amount of U.S. casualties. But remember, we're looking at U.S. casualties against the United States proper. So the 50 states, it's not looking at military-based strikes. And so what we're interested in here is the intercontinental range and the sub-launch ballistic missiles. And so currently they have six, to the best of our knowledge, 6 deployed Dofang 5 alphas with a warhead, range size somewhere between the 4 and 5 megatons. They have the Dofang 5 Bravo with 60 warheads, somewhere in the 200 to 300 kiloton range. They have 24 of the, and those are in silos. They have 24 of the Dofang 31 alphas. They have 64 of the Dofang 31 Alpha Golfs. And they have 84 of the Dofang 41s. That brings a total for land-based, for ones that are in range, 238. In addition to that, there are 72 sub-launch ballistic missiles. They also have a small number of strategic bombers. It's such a small number, I'm not factoring those into the equation. So one of the things I did was, this simulation was really based around, created a few years back, so I updated the deployed Chinese units. So I took out the Dofang 4s, which are no longer believed to be active, and I added in the additional Dofang 5 Bravos, and also the Dofang 41s. I moved all the mobile missile launchers to here. Now, clearly, there's satellites, there's other signal intelligence, there, intelligence assets that could be on the ground. If they were to suddenly move all their mobile launchers to something like this, obviously it would raise some pretty big red flags. But again, this is absolute worst case scenario. The United States fails at multiple levels. How many casualties can they cause? And so I also forward deployed their subs. So there's 72 warheads split between these 6 subs so that they'd be in range for the entirety of the United States. So I manually did all the targeting, and we'll take a look at the AI. Really is that thing to see who does better, myself or the AI that's built into the simulation. But let's take a look at the attack plan currently. So you can kind of see attack plan alpha is the mobile launchers. Honolulu does get some love here. But you can see for the mobile launchers, the silos, and actually this one is going to get trashed because I had made an issue with the command, the silo control launcher. So you see, there's no actual ICBMs there. Doesn't matter if you trash or not, but for simplicity's sake. Charlie is what Charlie is. Oh, sorry. I had unclicked it. Charlie is the sub-launch missiles. So you can see here, targeting datas. So, kind of give you an idea. Delta would be the Dofang 5 alphas. Those are really your heavy yield size. So those are going to your major metropolitan areas. The Los Angeles metropolitan area, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. And then these would be the other ones. So, and again, hitting some of your larger cities and also some in Florida because they were in range. There was a lot that weren't, Miami wasn't in range for, so that would be primarily targeting with the subs and some of the Dofang 5 Bravos. So that's it. That's a targeting. I mean, you can also look at it like this, where it actually shows you locations. And so I did all the targeting there. I laid out. So you're looking at, what was that? 238 plus 72. Manually set all those. So it's not quite as intensive as when I did the U.S. strike against China, because U.S. has a much higher warhead count. So does Russia when I did the Russian all-out strike on the United States. So this was fairly easy comparatively, but I will be doing my follow-up one will be a U.S. all-out strike on Russia, which again will be a high warhead yield, high warhead count. So it'll take quite a bit of work, but I'm getting to be an old pro at this point. So I'm going to execute all plans and going to run this at 10 speed, so 10 times normal time. The silos are going to light up first. They're already starting to launch. Then you're going to see the subs start to fire up. And then the final one will be the mobile launchers. Those are going to take the longest to fire. Now they're starting to light up too. So I run through this. I do all the targeting, and then I check to make sure everything works right. So I've ran this a couple times now just to make sure it does. Everything fires like it's supposed to. That's how I found out about the silo issue with the silo command center. I messed up. Bit of a learning experience for me. This is one of the times I've really honed in. The United States nuclear stockpile really hasn't changed a lot in the last couple of years, whereas China has. And there's been, to some extent, Russia as well. But China's definitely had, more of an increase, as well as retiring older ones. So, seeing This is showing like when the warheads are actually breaking off from the rockets. So, and then if they're merged, you'll start to see them start to split off from there. And we're starting to see some strikes as well now. So, let's see here. Kind of big high level. Still got all these coming in. I appreciate everybody who's left a comment. Getting a lot more interaction lately. Crossed over 560 subscribers today. And so, like I said, every time somebody makes a comment, something like that, it always motivates me to continue making content. This is definitely not a something I do for any kind of profit or any type of desire to be some social media superstar by any means. In fact, that never happened. Nuclear war is definitely a niche topic, but any type of interaction, messages, stuff like that always motivates me to continue making videos and to try to make better and better content. If you were to look at my nuclear war simulation videos from, say, a year ago to now, you're going to see what I would consider definite improvement. I've started more and more of all manual targeting, even if it's a lot of targeting to be done, making sure that the actual stockpiles are correct and accurate to, the current time. Seeing a lot of stuff land, but keep in mind we still got all of this, the majority. See, the United States, the majority of the warheads are on our subs, our nuclear ballistic missile subs. For China, and Russia for that matter too, the majority are land-based mobile launchers. So I would say the subs and also our strategic bomber fleet, so I can't leave that out. There's a ton on our strategic bombers as well, including our highest yield weapons are still on our strategic bombers. So what's advantage? A lot of people say, well, China has a couple really high yield weapons into the 4 to 5 megaton range, but a multi-warhead strike could be even more effective but the way it's been able to target. I did do some surface. Most are air burst at around 500 meters, which was kind of tested and proven to show the highest amount of casualties. I did do some surface burst ones, mainly in the metropolitan area, so it's a mix. I did the higher yield ones as surface burst, so the Dofang 5 alphas. You see the explosions just landing everywhere. And to think the warhead count and stockpile of China is just a tiny fraction of what Russia and the United States has. So as you see this coming down, if this is one of your first videos you're watching and you're seeing these explosions, watch the Russian all-out strike on the United States. I mean, it's it's ridiculous. And to the point that like tiny little towns, like where I live in Kentucky, Danville, London, there were so many warheads to go around if the goal was to cause maximum civilian casualties. I think that's everything now. I think everything is struck. So let's go. And so right now, if you were to look at the clock, this started at 12 o'clock. We're at 51 minutes in, and everything's I say landed, but struck. I'm going to take it just a little bit further to make sure everything goes. All right. So 1 hour. 1 hour into from the button being pressed. Let's look at our casualty rate. $45.6 million losses. We see here the majority of the fallout is based around, at least at this time, this is based around where the surface bursts were. 45.6 million. You look at total population-wise, total population somewhere north of 317 million. So 45.6 million would be a big chunk of the U.S. population, and that's the immediate casualties. That's not looking at people that are going to die from injuries and stuff because they wouldn't get medical care, food shortages, famine, disease, all that kind of stuff. Try to think about like Katrina and magnify that exponentially. And so I got a video I'm working on, but it's really taking it's not really simulation. It's more of like a research paper type of video about how many casualties I would think if we really went into a kind of global nuclear showdown. And that's a harder question to answer, is how many long-term casualties would there be? But I mean, clearly, I think it would be a no-brainer that to double that number would be a minimum. So I'm going to reset this and let's see what the AI can do. So remember, 45.6 million. Let's see what the AI can do with their built-in targeting. So give me 1 second to reset. Okay, the scenario's been reloaded. You can see it's back to 12. No casualties. I'm going to take the attack plans. I'm going to trash them all. Then I'm going to go with target country. Let's go to China. Go 100% of their force. 100% civilian targets. Click the thing. So just going to make sure everything's lighting up like it's supposed to, even with the AI targeting. And we should see these light up. And then I'll speed things up a little bit. See, did they build in a... No. When AI does it, they don't really build in an attack plan like how I had it. Okay, starting to see. That was kind of the final one. So, I'm going to take this, I'm going to change it to 35. Nope, didn't mean to do that. All right, let's go 100. So there's the sub-launched, and now we have the mobile launchers and the ICBMs. Now remember, this is also worst case scenario. This is not meant to represent a realistic scenario. I am going to work a realistic scenario with the current arsenals with the United States and Russia and NATO powers and involve China in a kind of worst case scenario, and with North Korea with their limited numbers. But this isn't it. So this is a worst case scenario that's what would be considered highly unlikely. So let's run the casualties and let's see whose horse wins this race. All right, I have won again. So 39.3 million casualties versus my 45.6 million casualties. Not as far as a gap. If you watch my U.S. all-out strike on China, I beat the AI by over double casualties. But of course, we're looking at A, China has a much larger population. B, U.S. has a much larger stockpile of weapons. And Chinese cities are much more densely packed. So it was able to be far more favorable conditions. But still, I'm undefeated against the AI. So again, U.S. government, Department of Defense, if you need any help with your strategic nuclear planning, give me a buzz. I'm here to help, man. I got your back. So, I would joke like, China, you need help, hit me up. But I don't really want the FBI showing up at my door. So that's a joke. So again, this is worst case scenario to give you an idea. I'll be working on the other video with the rebuttal to Annie Jacobson. But again, in that meantime, I'm going to work a U.S. all out against Russia and then really work the more realistic scenario. I've also got in mind a realistic scenario about an escalation in the South China Sea with China, United States regarding Taiwan, and it's starting with very limited strikes and working its way from there. So I have some good stuff on the docket. Check out my rambling rants. Been putting out those almost daily. I didn't do it yesterday and day before, but probably have one out tomorrow. So those are good. They're topics cover nuclear war, news stories, stuff recently with me and the JIP training, and some rants, random stuff, some stuff about the natty and knob movement when it comes to other stuff, just random topics. So check it out. Other than that, have a great day. Peace.